I got a message from someone in my school community, which if you want an invite, by the way, message me on Instagram. And I won't say his name, but he was essentially reaching out for help because he's been kicked out of home. He's running out of money. His family doesn't support his career. And he was just kind of reaching out for support. So I sent him a message back, but I also told him that I would record this video for him. I'm not going to send it to him. Well, I will send it to him directly, but I'm not going to speak to him specifically in this video. I want to speak to anyone that's in the same situation as him. Because you guys have probably heard me say on podcasts before, when you're pursuing this kind of nightlife career, whether you're a DJ, a promoter, a photographer, a videographer, a producer, generally, it feels like the world's against you. Your parents ask when you're going to get a real job. Your friends don't come to your shows unless you give them free tickets. And the venues don't even fucking pay you on time. So it feels like the world's against you. Unless you're smart enough to eventually team up, which I was eventually, but I didn't have a team at the start. It feels like all of the odds are against you. And frankly, they are. I remember I nearly quit really early in my DJ career. And if it wasn't for one girl that I just knew through pure luck that said she liked my mixtapes, I probably would have quit and I wouldn't be here and these videos wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have done any of the incredible things that I've done. But it was just pure luck. And sometimes people aren't lucky enough to just have that one person. So I'm hoping this video reaches some people and this message resonates with at least one other person, if not just the person that I'm sending it to in this message. I actually very vividly remember, I live in Perth and there's a shopping mall called Morley Galleria. And I was walking through, I still remember it fucking clear as day. I remember exactly where I was in the shopping mall. I was walking through and I bumped into one of my, at the time's friend's mum, just from high school. And she asked what I was up to. And I'd just gotten fired from the IT support job, which I had immediately after school. And the reason I got fired, it's a little bit of a funny story. Long story short, my first ever DJ gig was my friend's 18th birthday. And there was obviously photos that went up on Facebook, and I was doing IT support at the school that I just graduated from. And so I was friends on Facebook with a bunch of the now current year 12 students. And so we took in their laptops to re-image them, and a bunch of them had super drunk photos of me as their laptop wallpaper. Really set the tone for the rest of my brand later. And obviously my manager had to fire me because it's a clear, it's personal and professional life mixing. It was understandable. And she asked what I was up to, and I said, I got fired from Trinity, which is the school I went to. And she goes, what are you up to now? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to make this DJ thing work. I'm doing some like birthdays and functions and stuff like that. And she didn't even fucking blink. She goes, when are you going to get a real job? And I had so much respect for her up until she said that. And maybe I caught her on a bad day, but it was the last ever time I interacted with her, and I just lost all the respect for her. And I remember thinking, I'm going to fucking show you. I still remember it to this day. And because I just got fired, DJing wasn't quite paying the bills. And so I had to get a job as a waiter at the Atrium Buffet, which is like a casino here in Perth. And it was coming up to Christmas season of whatever year it was that I fucking quit. And I was doing some like school balls and functions and every now and then a club here and there. And they made everyone fill out new availability sheets. And I said I couldn't work Fridays or Saturday nights because I'm DJing these school balls and I'm making more money and I'm frankly having more fun. Didn't really mention that bit. But they said everyone that can't make themselves available Fridays or Saturday nights during the Christmas season when it's busy either has to make themselves available or reconsider their employment. So I reconsidered it. I handed in my resignation letter the next day. And that gave me this really big away from motivator that was like, Brandon, you had to make this fucking job, this DJ thing work now, or else you're going back to a job that you hate. You have to do it. You don't have any other option. And then at the same time, because I speak to a lot of, a lot of you are a lot younger than me, and maybe you're just in high school, you've just finished high school, and you don't really know what to do with your life yet. And so you're kind of floating around, and I understand it. You haven't sat down for a fucking minute and figured out what you wanted to do, and I didn't do the same thing either. And because of that, I just went to Curtin University. I just did a commerce degree, right? At first, I was a double degree in information systems and technology, then a single degree in information systems. And I was like, I don't even fucking like this at all. But this club thing's kind of cool. So I'll swap to event management. The whole thing was bullshit. It was just the lady teaching was qualified to teach, not qualified to be a promoter or an event manager for sure. She never fucking ran an event in her life. And I actually got in an argument with her in it was like the last assessment of the semester. and I got in an argument. It was meant to be a group assignment, but I figured out pretty early on this whole thing was a fucking scam. So I stopped going to class and I just did it by myself. I was never in class to form a group. And I got in an argument with her. I was explaining how spend per head, how much people spend on alcohol, will directly correlate to what type of music you play. So if you play bass music, everyone's doing ecstasy, they're just drinking water. If you play hip hop and R&B music and pop music, everyone's drinking, just attracts a drinking crowd, right? And she was disagreeing with me, and I just kept bringing up slides and stats with like actual nightclub owners that I talk to and work for just to disprove it, and she got really angry about it. Anyway, I realized this whole thing was bullshit. And so I walked out of that classroom after that argument. I walked around the corner, and reception or administration was around the corner from the classroom for the whole university. I dropped out. And now I had another way from motivator. It was like, Brandon, you have got nothing now, because I want to be very clear. My mum's Asian, so her expectations are higher, right? Like, I had to be, in her eyes, a lawyer, a doctor, or the very first president of Australia. How do you think my parents felt when their only child calls them and says, hey, Mum, I know you had all these really high expectations for me, and I know I'm the only one in both families' bloodlines to ever even make it into university, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to try and make this DJ thing work now. They don't feel fantastic about it. They've gone around to the idea now, right? Things worked out for me because 3 months later, I was on every major EDM publication in the world because my mixtape went viral. And then just to prove it wasn't luck, I did it again. But none of this wouldn't have happened without all of this fear and anxiety and stress around no one thinks I can do this. Everyone thinks I should do a normal thing. And I fucking hate this job. I have to do something else. You guys have heard me say multiple times before, humans are a lot like mice. That's why they do psychological experiment on mice, right? If you offer it bits of cheese, it's going to run after that. If you offer it a bump of Coke, it's probably going to take that too. But if you put a cat behind it, it's fucking running for sure. The bits of cheese are nice and they're theoretically out there somewhere. But the things that really drive action are fucking terrifying cats. My friend's mum that bumped into me into the shopping center and said I couldn't do it. My parents that want me to do this degree that's making me miserable. This job that is making me miserable. Like, I have to do something. I can't stay here. You'd be incredibly surprised at how capable you are when the only option is the remarkably unlikely option. If the unlikely option is the only option, you have to figure out a way to do it. And so if you're ever in a position where you're feeling stressed or anxious or unsure, I want you to flick the switch in your head. I've said this on one of the previous podcasts. Whenever you're feeling stressed, you should rewire it in your brain to indicate that the thing you're moving towards is valuable and important and actually meaningful. Because the alternative is, imagine sitting on the couch playing Seinfeld. Back years ago, compared to the things that I'm doing now, the whole joke about Seinfeld, the TV show, is that it's a show about nothing. My life wasn't even worth being a Seinfeld episode. That was how fucking pointless it was at one point in time, right? One option is you just sit on the couch, you just watch TV, and you don't do anything, and a decade and a half goes by, and you're not proud of everything you've accomplished. And so what I want you to do to stop you from drifting, this was an exercise I did in Fiji while I was away last week, journaling activity. I want you to run 2 scenarios in your head. When you think about today, think about everything that you did, and if you repeated today every single day for 10 years, where would you be a decade from now? And is that the place that you want to be or not? Run a second scenario. Imagine tomorrow. List out all of the things that you know you should do that will move you where you'd rather be. If you just did those consistently every day, even poorly, but every day consistently, would it not be unreasonable for you to at least be directionally accurate towards the things that you want to do and achieve with your life? Just run the experiment. Let me know the scenarios. Put them in the comments and let me know how you're going in a year. Because you need the cat. Rewire the fear, rewire the stress. You're moving in the right direction. Your back's against the wall, so the only way is forward. Let me know.